Imagine this. You're on a cruise ship with your family. You go to sleep, and when you wake up, your daughter is gone. Her shoes are still in the room. Her sandals are by the bed, but she is simply not there. Now imagine that for the next 28 years, people keep telling you they saw her on a beach, in a city, in a room she couldn't leave. This is the story of Amy Lynn Bradley. My name is Jacob Chol, and this is the 12 a.m. show. Tonight, we're going back to 1998, to a family cruise that was supposed to be a vacation, but became a nightmare that still hasn't ended. This is the story of Amy Lynn Bradley, the woman who vanished from a cruise ship and was never found.
Amy Bradley's missing. You know how mystifying this decades-long case has been. Amy disappeared off of a cruise ship back in 1998.
Amy Lynn Bradley was born on May 12, 1974, in Petersburg, Virginia. She grew up in Chesterfield County with her parents, Ron and Eva, and her younger brother, Brad. She was an athlete. She attended Longwood University on a full basketball scholarship and graduated with a degree in sports psychology. She was a trained lifeguard and a strong swimmer, the kind of person who felt at home in the water. At 23, she was right at the beginning of her adult life. She'd been working at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and had just been offered a position at a computer consulting firm. She was supposed to start that job as soon as she got back from the cruise. She was energetic. She was social. She loved music, dancing, Coca-Cola, Miller Lite, and Marlboro cigarettes. She had multiple piercings and several distinctive tattoos, a Japanese symbol on her right ankle, and a sun tattooed on her lower back. Those tattoos would become critically important later. In March of 1998, Amy's father, Ron, won an all-expenses-paid family cruise through his employer. The whole family boarded Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas: Ron, Iva, Brad, and Amy. Amy was initially nervous about the trip. She had a fear of heights and felt uneasy about the size of the ship and being out on the open ocean. But she was excited to spend time with her brother, who had just come home from college. None of them could have imagined what would happen on the fourth day. On the evening of March 23, 1998, Amy and Brad went out dancing. The ship had a nightclub and a disco party on the 9th floor deck. The house band, a group called Blue Orchid, was playing. Amy and Brad spent the night drinking, dancing, and socializing with passengers and crew members. At some point during the night, Amy began spending time with a band member known as Yellow, a bass player named Alistair Douglas. A videographer on the ship actually captured footage of Amy and Douglas dancing together that night. Brad eventually headed back to the family cabin on the 8th deck. The ship's computerized door lock system recorded his entry at 3:35 a.m. Amy followed 5 minutes later at 3:40 a.m. The two siblings sat on their suite's balcony and talked. Amy told Brad she wasn't feeling well and wanted to sit outside with the fresh air and the breeze. Brad told her he loved her and said goodnight. Those were the last words he would ever say to his sister. Between 5:15 and 5:30 a.m., their father Ron woke up. He checked on his children. He could see Amy's legs from her hips down. She was asleep on the balcony lounge chair. Satisfied she was okay, he went back to sleep. When Ron woke again at 6 a.m., the lounge chair was empty. Amy was gone. Her cigarettes and lighter were gone. She'd changed out of the yellow polo shirt she'd worn the night before, but her sandals were still inside the cabin. All 9 other pairs of shoes she'd brought on the trip were still in her luggage, and the sliding glass door to the balcony was partially open. Ron assumed she'd gone for coffee or to take photos as the ship approached Curaçao's port. He went to look for her in the common areas of the ship. When he couldn't find her after more than an hour, something shifted inside him. This was not like Amy. She wouldn't just leave without telling anyone where she was going. At 6:30 a.m., he woke the rest of the family and told them Amy was missing. Here is where the case takes its first dark turn. 3 witnesses on the ship later stated that between 5:30 and 5:45 a.m., right around the time Ron last saw Amy sleeping, they saw Amy riding the elevator to the top deck. And she wasn't alone. She was with Alistair Douglas, the musician she'd been dancing with all night. Witnesses said he appeared to hand her a drink containing dark liquid. They arrived in the elevator together, and then, shortly after 6 a.m., Douglas was seen leaving the top deck, alone. Amy was never seen on the ship again. Now here's what makes this even more unsettling. Brad recalled that later that morning, before any public announcement had been made about Amy's disappearance, Douglas walked up to him and said, "Hey man, I'm sorry to hear about your sister." At that point, only the family and the ship's captain knew Amy was missing. Brad later described the timing of that comment as suspicious. Douglas was questioned by ship security and the FBI. He was given a polygraph test, which came back inconclusive. Ron later said Douglas came out of the interview smiling, with his thumbs up to his band members. Douglas denied any involvement in Amy's disappearance. No evidence was found linking him to it. But the questions have never gone away. Meanwhile, the family was fighting another battle with the ship itself. Amy's parents immediately told the crew that no one should be allowed off the ship. They begged them to seal the gangplank and make a ship-wide announcement. But the crew told them it was too early for an announcement. The ship docked in Curacao on schedule, and 2,000 passengers walked off. When an announcement was finally made at 7:50 a.m., it was a casual page. "Will Amy Bradley please come to the purser's desk?" By that time, most passengers had already left. An internal ship search didn't happen until between 12:15 and 1 p.m., more than 6 hours after Amy was last seen. That delay has been widely criticized as a mistake that may have destroyed any chance of finding her. The Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard conducted a 4-day search of the surrounding waters. Helicopters, radar planes, boats, they found nothing. Authorities initially speculated that Amy may have fallen overboard or harmed herself. But investigators quickly pushed back on that theory. The ship was extremely close to shore at the time she disappeared. Multiple witnesses would have seen or heard someone go into the water. Amy was a trained lifeguard and a strong swimmer. No body was ever recovered. Something else happened to Amy Lynn Bradley. And the question became, what? What comes next is the part of this case that stays with people. Because for years after Amy disappeared, witnesses kept coming forward. And their stories are deeply unsettling. About a month after the disappearance, Ron and Brad flew back to Curacao to search for Amy. A taxi driver approached them. He said he recognized Amy from the reward flyers. He told them he had seen her on the morning of March 24th, running through a parking lot near the port, urgently looking for a phone. He said he remembered her green eyes. This sighting was never confirmed by authorities. But that wasn't all. In August of 1998, 5 months after Amy vanished, a Canadian tourist named David Carmichael was scuba diving at a beach in Curacao called Playa Porto Marie. He saw a woman who looked exactly like Amy. She was with 2 men who appeared aggressive and controlling. Carmichael was standing just 2 feet from her. He described her eyes. He described her tattoos, including the Tasmanian devil. His description was accurate. When the woman heard him speaking English, she reportedly spun around and moved toward him. But one of the men stepped in, stared Carmichael down, and motioned her away toward the beach bar. Carmichael said the woman kept glancing at him, then looking down, as if she was trying to silently communicate something. He didn't realize who she was until later, when he saw Amy's photo on America's Most Wanted. He called the Bradleys and flew to Virginia to meet them in person. He told them, "I am haunted by that encounter with Amy. I know it was her." The FBI investigated. They could not confirm the sighting. Then, in January of 1999, a U.S. Navy petty officer named William Hefner came forward with a story that sent chills through the case. Hefner said he had visited an establishment in Curacao, and a woman approached him. She told him her name was Amy Bradley. She told him she had gotten off the cruise ship to find drugs and was now being held against her will. She asked for help. Hefner didn't report it at the time. He said he was concerned about the impact on his military career. It wasn't until years later, after he left the Navy and saw Amy's face in a magazine, that he contacted her family. The FBI investigated, but by that time, the establishment had burned down. No evidence was recovered. In 2005, the Bradleys received anonymous photos of a woman who bore a striking resemblance to Amy. The photos came from an adult website based in the Caribbean. The woman was identified on the site as Jazz. An FBI analysis concluded the woman in the photos was Amy, but agents were unable to trace the website's origin. That same year, a tourist named Judy Maurer was in a department store restroom in Barbados when she heard a group of men enter. After they left, she exited her stall and encountered a woman with dark hair. The woman quietly said her name was Amy and mentioned she was from Virginia. The woman also asked the men she was with if they could stop and see the children. What children she was referring to has never been determined. Sketches of the woman and her companion were created from Maurer's account and are publicly available. Each of these sightings, taken alone, could be questioned, but taken together, they form a pattern that has haunted investigators, the family, and everyone who has followed this case. So, what do investigators actually believe happened? The FBI has stated there is no evidence that Amy fell overboard, was pushed, or harmed herself. She was close to shore. She was a trained lifeguard. The water was searched extensively. No body was found. Investigators also determined it is very unlikely Amy chose to disappear on her own. She had a new job waiting for her. She was close with her family. There was no indication she wanted to start a new life. The most persistent theory, and the one Amy's family believes, is that she was coerced or taken by someone she encountered during the cruise. Her family points to the band member, the waiters who asked to spend time with her, the strange behavior of certain crew members, and the alarming sightings that followed. There were also reports of a waiter on the ship who had repeatedly approached the family throughout the cruise, asking them to pass notes to Amy, inviting her to go drinking once they reached shore. And there's a detail that often gets overlooked. The ship's professional photographer had displayed all the photos taken during the cruise for passengers to purchase. When the family went to find Amy's photos, they were all gone, as if someone had deliberately removed them. 2 unidentified men are considered persons of interest. One is described as white, late 30s to early 40s, between 5'11" and 6 foot, with a receding hairline, red hair, and a red beard. The other was in his early 30s, approximately 5'11", with dark, curly, shoulder-length hair. Neither man has ever been identified. In 2010, a human jawbone washed ashore in Aruba. It was initially tested in connection with another missing person case. Tests determined it likely belonged to a Caucasian woman, but no DNA comparison to Amy was ever conducted. Amy was legally declared dead in absentia on March 24, 2010, 12 years to the day after she disappeared. But her family has never accepted that declaration. Then, in July 2025, a Netflix documentary series called Amy Bradley is Missing brought the case back into the spotlight. The documentary generated hundreds of new leads. According to reports, at least 3 of those leads were described as very significant. One of them involved suspicious activity on the family's missing persons website. IP addresses traced to Barbados that accessed the site on significant dates, including family anniversaries and holidays. Whoever was visiting that website appeared to know Amy personally. Another lead reportedly involved a female bartender from the cruise ship. who had been heard telling passengers and crew on the night of Amy's disappearance. "Señorita kidnapped. Señorita kidnapped." That bartender's identity has reportedly been uncovered, though at the time of this video, it remains unclear whether she has been formally interviewed. And on March 24th, 2026, exactly 28 years after Amy disappeared, the FBI renewed its public appeal and announced a reward of up to $25,000 for information leading to Amy's recovery or to the identification and arrest of anyone responsible for her disappearance. Amy's family has separately offered $250,000 for information leading to her safe return. It's been 28 years. No body, no confirmed sighting, no arrest, no closure. Amy's father, Ron, still keeps her car in the garage. He says it'll be pristine when she gets here. He wants it ready for the day she comes home. Every night, her parents say goodnight to her. And every morning, they wake up and say the same thing. Maybe today. Her brother Brad has said that the lack of closure is what keeps them going. The lack of closure or not knowing allows us to continue to hope, he said, so I actually prefer it that way. Whether Amy is still out there, whether she's been alive this whole time, just out of reach, is a question that no one has been able to answer. The witnesses believe they saw her. The FBI believes foul play was involved. And her family believes with everything they have that their daughter is still alive. If Amy Lynn Bradley is listening, her family has never stopped looking, not for a single day. And if someone out there knows something, even something small, now might be the time to come forward. Because after 28 years, the world is still watching. And the people who love her are still waiting. There are over 600,000 missing persons cases in the United States right now. Amy's is one of them. Subscribe to this channel so stories like hers don't disappear. And if you have a theory about this case, drop it in the comments. I read every single one.